Greetings and welcome back to Room 303 in our Chats with Emily, as we are calling our readings through the poetry of Emily Dickinson. We are in the Johnson edition. We turn out to poem 460, I Know Where Wells Grow, Droughtless Wells. Now, this is in many ways, again, a response to a biblical verse. We've seen this so many times with Emily. The verse that Emily is referencing is from the Gospel of John, the 4th chapter and the 14th verse, where Christ, you maybe will remember, Jesus is speaking with the woman of Samaria, as it's referred to in the King James Version that Emily would have known. And Jesus says something about drinking from a well. He says this, quote, "But whosoever drinketh of the water I shall give him shall never thirst. But the water that I shall give him shall be in him a well of water springing up into eternal life," end quote. Now Emily, as the great iconoclast that she is, will look at this promise and say, I wonder about that promise, and I wonder if my heaven on earth might not just be enough water for me. And in the moment of saying that, obviously, there's a whole lot of readers of this poem of her time, and dare we say it, even after her time, we'll see Emily not just as iconoclastic, but rather even maybe blasphemous. But there's such a tongue-in-cheek in this poem that will, I think, make us appreciate, if not smile. So, for example, she doesn't say a biblical text of the Bible or the John 4 passage. She calls it an old-fashioned book. You'll be looking for it as we read. She says it this way: I know where wells grow, droughtless wells, deep dug for summer days, where mosses go no more away and pebble safely plays. It's made of fathoms and a belt of jagged stone inlaid with emerald halfway down and diamonds jumbled on. It has no bucket. Were I rich, a bucket I would buy. I'm often thirsty, but my lips are so high up, you see. I read in an old-fashioned book that people thirst no more. The wells have buckets to them there. It must mean that, I'm sure. Shall we remember parching then? Those waters sound so grand. I think a little well like mine dearer to understand. Now guys, we love Emily's poetry for so many reasons, and we're about to stumble onto another one. Maybe not a new one, but for sure to be reminded how fun these poems are for Emily, and I think for us to read as well. I said when I did my series with you guys, Talks with Walt, where we did all of the poems of Whitman's Leaves of Grass. You can find that at learnstrong.net as well on the playlist on the left-hand side. You'll remember a number of times I said that it's clear that Whitman is having a lot of fun working through some of the ideas he's working through. I can't help but think that Emily did a little smile as she finished this poem, a little smirk maybe to say, you know, let's talk about heaven on earth as opposed to heaven somewhere else. She'll begin with I know, she'll go to I'm sure, she'll then finish with I think, and the last word of the poem is understand. So it's fascinating the way she's epistemologically kind of playing through her cards here. She says, I know where wells grow, droughtless wells, the wells of life, right? And, she's going to argue, leave Emily thirsty in some way, right? Deep dug for summer days, where mosses go no more away and pebble safely plays. Again, it's the joy of the games that she plays here. She goes from pebbles to jewels, right? To diamonds and emeralds. And in the process, of course, is playing around with the idea that heaven in the book of Revelation, the favorite for her book of the Bible, that book of Revelation, will imagine heaven in all kinds of emeralds and the like. For Emily, it almost seems as if she says, you know, I'm fine with pebbles. It's made of fathoms and a belt of jagged stone, inlaid with emerald halfway down and diamonds jumbled on. In other words, the well of life she wants to enjoy is the well right there in her father's garden or adjacent. Notice she'll say, it has no bucket. And then she'll play around with, were I rich. You'll remember when we did poem 457, that Emily in a letter had said that she was of barefoot rank. Here playing around with the same idea, she's not rich. Although many have argued, certainly middle class, probably upper middle class for her day. She didn't see herself that. Were I rich, a bucket I'd buy. And then she'll say it, I'm often thirsty, but my lips are so high up, you see. This you see is the reason that we called our series Chats with Emily, or one of many. In other words, it's kind of just colloquial. She's just having a, you see, here's the problem for me. I get thirsty and I drink, and then I want more from whatever it is I'm drinking. And then she says, I read in an old-fashioned book, again, the biblical corpus, that people, notice quotation marks, thirst no more. Again, the John 4 passage that we've already quoted, 14. The wells have buckets to them there. Of course, the there has to be heaven that she's referencing. It must mean that, she says, I'm sure, to go from I know to I'm sure. And then, now she's ready to speculate on afterlife, in heaven. Shall we, notice she invites you into the poem, it's brilliant. Shall we remember parching then? Takes us, of course, back to the very beginning of our study in poem 67, right? Success is counted sweetest by those who ne'er succeed. To comprehend a nectar requires sorest need. Shall we remember parching then? Those waters sound so grand. And again, this so grand is just, I mean, it's wonderful, right? She says, to never be thirsty again sounds so grand. And then she goes from I'm sure to I think. I think a little well, guys, I told you about her use of the word little in 172 poems. She loves this word. A little well, notice capitalized, dash, like mine, notice mine capitalized, dash. Dearer to understand. And I think it's significant that the last word of this poem begins with the word understand as we start with the phrase I know. In other words, what are we saying? Emily's preference is the little garden that she has is all the heaven that she needs. She doesn't need to die to go to some other place to find the ideal well for her. It's right there adjacent to her garden, or her father's garden. At 2b, the word choice is brilliant here, from I know to I'm sure to I think to understand finally. At 3a, I think there's a lot of connections we can make, guys, here, but I like Voltaire's Candide. Remember our study of Voltaire's Candide? He goes through all those adventures, and what is it that he comes to understand at the end, as he's older, obviously? We must cultivate our own gardens, he will see in that beautiful French line. And here I think Emily is playing a very similar game. Instead of spending all my time wondering what the afterlife is like, I'm going to spend my time enjoying the very life that I have right here, right now. Finally, at 3b, well, this is an interesting question. What is your heaven on earth? What is the garden that you're enjoying taking care of? I hope some of that has to do with your reading of Emily's poems. Thank you.